What if the answer to every question you've ever had about yourself was already written on your hands? I want you to do something right now. Stop whatever you're doing. Open your hands. Both of them. Lay them flat, palms up, and just look. Most people have never really looked at their own hands. Not like this. They've used them their whole lives to work, to hold, to build, to pray, but they've never stopped long enough to notice what's actually there. Because here's what I've come to believe. After years of sitting with people in some of the most broken and beautiful seasons of their lives, God doesn't do anything by accident. Not the family you were born into, not the gifts that feel almost too heavy to carry, and not the marks on your hands. Now, I'm not talking about fortune-telling. I'm not talking about mysticism or anything that takes you away from your faith. I'm talking about something much simpler and much more powerful than that. I'm talking about the way God sometimes leaves fingerprints on his people. Little reminders, pressed into the very skin he formed, that say you were made for something. There are 4 specific signs that certain people carry on their palms. 4 marks that, when you understand what they mean spiritually, can unlock something in you that's been waiting a long time to be named. The M, the X, the V, and the half moon. Maybe you have one. Maybe you have more than one. Maybe you're watching this right now and something in your chest already stirred when I said those words, and you don't even know why yet. That stirring? Don't ignore it. We're going to walk through all 4 of these marks today. What they mean, what kind of person carries them, and what God might be saying to you through the very lines of your hand. Let's start at the beginning. Look at the base of your fingernails, right where the nail meets the skin. Do you see a small white arc, a little crescent shape, at the bottom of one or more of your nails? That's the half moon. And for a long time, people have passed right over it without giving it a second thought. Just a detail, just biology. Nothing to see here. But I've noticed something about the people who carry this mark clearly. There's a quality to them that's hard to put into words. They walk into a room, and they already know before anyone says anything whether something's wrong. They can sit across from a friend at a coffee table, and halfway through a sentence, they already know what that friend actually needs, even if the friend hasn't figured it out themselves yet. These are people who feel deeply, profoundly, sometimes uncomfortably so. You know the kind. Maybe you are the kind. You cry at things you can't explain. You carry other people's pain home with you without meaning to. You pick up on tension in a room the way some people pick up on a change in weather instinctively, before the storm ever arrives. And here's what nobody tells you about that gift. It's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting to feel the world at that frequency. The half moon, in the way I've come to understand it spiritually, represents what I'd call the gift of sensitivity. And in Scripture, sensitivity, real sensitivity, is never weakness. Think about the prophets. Think about David, who felt everything so loudly that he wrote it all down in the Psalms. Think about Jesus himself, who wept at the tomb of Lazarus even when he already knew what was about to happen. He didn't weep because he didn't know. He wept because he felt, because feeling was never beneath him. The people who carry the half moon tend to have a very active dream life. They wake up at 3 inches the morning with something heavy on their chest. Not anxiety exactly, but a weight, a sense that something needs prayer even if they can't name what it is. And when they pray, things move. Not always in ways they can see, but things move. Here's what I want to say directly to you if this is your mark. The world has probably told you that you're too sensitive, too much, too emotional, too intense. And maybe you believed it for a while. Maybe you tried to turn it down, to be less, to not feel so loudly in a room full of people who didn't understand. But that sensitivity is not a flaw in your design. It is the design. God didn't make a mistake when he wired you that way. He made a watchman. He made an intercessor. He made someone whose very presence creates safety for the people around them, because when you're in the room, people feel like they can finally exhale. That's not ordinary. That's a calling. The challenge for the half-moon person is learning to carry their gift without being buried by it, to feel without absorbing everything, to be present for others without losing themselves in the process. Solitude is not a luxury for these people, it's a lifeline. Time alone, time in prayer, time in nature. These aren't indulgences. They are what keeps the antenna clean. If the half moon is yours, tend to it. Now look at your palm. Not your fingernails this time, your actual palm. Trace the main lines running across it with your eyes. For some people, those lines come together in a way that forms, clearly, unmistakably, the letter M. The M is not subtle. When it's there, you know it's there. And the people who carry it, they're usually not subtle either. Not in a loud or arrogant way, but in a presence way. When someone with the M walks into a room, people notice. Even if they can't explain why, there's something about them that communicates. This person knows what they're doing. The M represents leadership, but not the kind of leadership that comes from a title or a corner office. I'm talking about something older than that. Something that was there before the person even knew what to call it. Think about the kid who, at 10 years old, was somehow already organizing the other kids on the playground, who was settling arguments and pointing people in directions before anyone elected them to do anything. That kid probably had an M on their hand and didn't know it yet. People with the M are natural decision makers. They don't freeze when things get hard. They assess, they move, they act, and they do it with a kind of calm that draws other people to them, like a rope thrown to someone drowning. When everything is falling apart, the M person is the one in the room thinking, okay, what do we do next? And that clarity, that steadiness, it's a gift. But let me tell you what comes with it. Expectation. A heavy, constant, unspoken expectation. People with the M rarely get asked how they're doing. Not really. Because somewhere along the way, everyone around them decided that they were fine. They were strong. They were handling it. And so the M person learned to keep handling it. They learned to show up for everyone else and quietly put their own needs in a drawer somewhere. And sometimes that drawer gets very full. The M also carries a strong connection to justice. These are people who cannot sit quietly in the face of something wrong. They don't go looking for fights, but when they see something twisted, something unfair, something that doesn't line up with the truth, something in them rises up. They can't help it. It's wired in. Think about that for a second. That's not a personality quirk. That's the fingerprint of a God who said, let justice roll down like waters. The M person is built to carry that current. What they have to watch is this. The M can become a mask. Strength can become a prison if you're never allowed to be anything else. The leader who never rests becomes the leader who breaks. And the world loses something irreplaceable when that happens. If the M is on your hand, and you've been carrying everything alone for longer than you should have, maybe this is the moment to put something down. Not to quit, not to walk away from your calling, but to let yourself be human for a minute. To let someone else carry something for you, just for a season. The best leaders aren't the ones who never needed anything. They're the ones who knew how to receive. Before we get to the last 2 marks, and I promise, they are worth the wait, I need to stop here for just a moment. Because if you've made it this far, something in this message is already working on you. And I don't want you to walk away from that. My name is George, and for years, I've been sitting with people who feel exactly what you might be feeling right now, this combination of recognition and hunger. Recognition, because something in this message sounds familiar, like you've known it somewhere deep. And hunger, because now you want more. You want to understand your calling at a level that goes beyond a YouTube video. The calling is wide. The instructions reach only a few. If there is a burning in your spirit right now, do not minimize it. That is the sign. The secret protocol delivers the 7 keys God reserved for those who are ready to unlock what was sealed inside them before birth. The full audiobook is included to absorb in depth, in your own time, in the presence of God. And the Awakening Map, the bonus guide that reveals the 5 stages of spiritual awakening and positions you with precision at the exact point of your journey today. The link is pinned in the first comment. For a limited time only, because not every door stays open forever. Now, let's talk about the last two marks. Look at your palm again. This time, you're looking for a V shape. It might appear between your fingers, along the lines of your palm, or right beneath where your fingers meet your hand. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. But if it's there, something in you probably already recognized it before I finished describing it. The V is the mark of what I call the builder. Not a builder in the contractor sense, though some of them are that too. I mean a builder in the deepest sense of the word. Someone who cannot look at a broken thing without already seeing what it could become. Someone who walks into a situation that everyone else has given up on and thinks, I can work with this. The V person has vision. Not just ideas, actual vision. The ability to see forward, to hold an image of something that doesn't exist yet and work toward it with patience and persistence that honestly baffles the people around them. And here's what makes this mark so spiritually significant. The V shape itself points upward. It gathers, it focuses, it rises. And that's exactly what the V person does in the lives of everyone they touch. They gather the scattered pieces. They focus the confused energy. They help things rise. Think about the people in your life who, when you were at your lowest, somehow found a way to remind you of who you were. Who sat with you in the mess and said, I see what you're going to be. I haven't lost hope in you. Those people almost always carry a V. Now, the gift comes with a shadow. The V person can struggle enormously with their own brokenness. Because they're so good at seeing potential in others, they can be brutal with themselves when they fall short. They hold themselves to a standard that they would never apply to someone they loved. And that inner critic, if left unchecked, can silence the very voice that other people need to hear. There's also a loneliness to this mark. The builder often feels like they're working on something no one else can see yet. They're laying foundations in seasons that feel invisible, that don't get applause, that nobody's watching, and that can feel like being forgotten. But here's the truth about builders. They're never forgotten by the one who assigned the work. Nehemiah built a wall while people mocked him. Joseph endured a pit and a prison before he ever saw the palace. The V person is always building towards something even when they can't see it clearly yet. If this is your mark, keep building. The season of invisibility is not the end of the story. It's the foundation of it. And then there's the X. Of all four marks, this is the rarest. And I say that not to create a hierarchy. Every one of these marks is given by God. Every one of them carries weight and beauty and responsibility. But the X is something that stops me every time I encounter it. The X appears in the center of the palm, formed by crossing lines. Not everyone has it. And those who do tend to share something that's genuinely difficult to put into words. There's a gravity to them. I don't mean heaviness, I mean the kind of gravity that holds things in orbit. People are drawn to them, not because they're trying to attract anyone, not because they're performing or positioning themselves, just because there's something in their presence that feels, and I want to use this word carefully, anchored, immovable, like they're connected to something deeper than what's visible. The X, spiritually, represents what I call the crossing point, the place where two paths meet. The person who can stand at the intersection of heaven and earth, of the spiritual and the practical, of the broken and the healed, and hold that space without being torn apart by it. These people are often extraordinarily discerning. They see through things, not in a suspicious way, not in a paranoid way, but in the way that a person with really good eyesight can read something from farther away than everyone else. They see the true nature of situations. They see what's really going on beneath the surface of a conversation, a relationship, a decision, and they're usually right. This discernment is one of the great gifts of Scripture. Paul prayed for it. The early church depended on it. It's the ability to test the spirits to know, without being able to fully explain how you know, whether something is of God or not. But here's what I want to say about the X person, and I want to say it gently, because I know some of you are carrying this mark and have been carrying it alone for a very long time. The X can feel like a target, because when you carry that kind of clarity and discernment, you also attract opposition, not from everyone, but from the things and sometimes the people that don't want to be seen clearly, that don't want to be named, that prefer to operate in the gray, in the ambiguous, in the almost but not quite. And your presence threatens that. Your clarity is a disruption to everything that wants to stay hidden. This is why X people are often misunderstood. Why they go through seasons of intense spiritual warfare. Why they sometimes feel like they're walking through something that nobody around them can fully perceive. You are not imagining it. The X is also the mark of the intercessor, the person who stands in the gap, who prays not just for their own needs, but for the ones who can't pray for themselves right now, who feels the weight of something before they even have the language to name it, and gets on their knees anyway. If you carry the X, your calling is not a quiet one, but it is a protected one. The same God who placed that mark on your hand has never for one moment lost sight of you. Now you've seen all four marks, the half moon, the M, the V, the X, and maybe something happened while you were watching this. Maybe you recognized yourself in one of them, or in more than one. Maybe you felt something crack open a little. Maybe you felt seen for the first time in a long time, in a way you didn't know you were waiting for. I want to say something before we close. Something that matters more than any mark on any hand. You don't need a symbol on your palm to be chosen. God chooses people not because of what they carry in their skin, but because of what He placed in their spirit before they ever drew their first breath. These marks, when they appear, are simply echoes, reminders, little confirmations of something that was already true. What matters is this: you felt something today. Don't let that feeling sit without a response. Because chosen people don't just receive callings, they answer them. The half-moon person answers by learning to protect their gift instead of giving it away endlessly. The M person answers by letting themselves be led before they try to lead everyone else. The V person answers by trusting the season of foundations, even when there's no applause. And the X person answers by standing in the gap, even when standing there is costly. None of these callings are easy. All of them are sacred. And here's what I know from everything I've seen. The moment a chosen person stops pretending they're ordinary, the moment they stop shrinking and start stepping into what God actually placed inside them, everything shifts. Not just in their own life, in the lives of everyone around them. You were never meant to be background. You were never meant to just get through. You were meant to go forward with purpose, with clarity, with the kind of faith that doesn't need perfect conditions to move. So go ahead and look at your hands one more time. Then look up, because the one who wrote those lines knew exactly what he was doing. Don't just watch this and move on. That's what ordinary people do. They consume, they scroll, they forget. But you're still here. You made it to the end of this video for a reason, and deep down you already know what that reason is. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. Go to the comments and tell me which mark is yours. The half moon, the M, the V, the X. Maybe more than one. Maybe a combination that felt so specific it almost scared you. Write it down. And if the description matched something you've been carrying for years, something you felt but couldn't name, something you knew about yourself but never had the language for, tell me that too. Because that's the real conversation. Not the marks themselves, but what they unlocked in you, what they confirmed, what they finally gave a name to. Chosen ones don't just receive the call, they answer it. And the answer doesn't always start with something dramatic. Sometimes it starts exactly like this, with a moment of honesty in a comment section. A person finally willing to say out loud, "I am not here by accident. I was made for something, and I am done being quiet about it." That moment is sacred. I don't care how small it looks from the outside. Write your mark. I'm here, I'm reading, and I believe that when people like you, people who've been carrying something they couldn't explain for far too long, finally find each other, even in a place like this, something real begins. Something that doesn't stay on a screen. Don't skip this. Answer the call. Right now, in the comments.